Good evening, everyone. I am so glad to be here with you this evening with so many of you from around the country and around the globe. Many of you know me as an actress and a model, but this evening I'm your host, so get ready. I'm delighted to be here tonight bringing you the first Evening of Treasures virtual event for Goodwill of New York and New Jersey, celebrating the power of work and sustainable fashion. This evening, we are honoring Board of Directors member Don M. Wilson III. We will also be visiting the studios of the renowned fashion designers Tracy Reese, Greg Lauren, and Yeohlee Teng, to hear from them about their sustainable fashion practices and how they created their amazing upcycled designs in the auction tonight. Growing up as a little girl in Oklahoma, I remember going to the Goodwill with my grandmother every weekend to shop for clothes. Back then, I didn't know its mission. I only knew that I could find one-of-a-kind treasures. I created my own look, and I felt very proud that my clothes looked totally different than my friends. We knew that Goodwill did good, but we weren't sure what good meant. And actually, Goodwill does good in two different ways. But let me tell you about the first, and the beginnings of Goodwill here in New Jersey and New York. Edgar Helms co-founded Goodwill in Brooklyn 105 years ago. And when he first began his mission work in the early 1900s, he tried giving away donated goods to those in need. Expecting success, he was met instead with conflict. No one wanted to be given items for free. The people Helms intended to help insisted on paying, even if it was just a penny. The fundamental human need for independence outweighed the need for tangible goods. And so, it was around this idea of independence for all that Goodwill was born. It started with the Goodwill stores, where donated items were resold, and it developed into our mission work, where the revenue from the stores was used to develop and support a wide variety of programs that enabled vulnerable people to find independence through the power of employment. Today, we have 60 programs and 23 stores in New York and northern New Jersey. We are one of the largest providers of employment services for people with their barriers to employment in the metro region. But that is only half of the phenomenal story. To tell you the other half, I'd like to introduce to you my co-host for this evening, the godmother of fashion and founder of New York Fashion Week Under the Tents, the legendary Fern Mallis. Take it away, Fern.
Thank you, Amber. I love that you've been a Goodwill shopper for so many years, and the story with your grandmother is just really special. So good evening, everyone, and welcome to our very special virtual gala. And I'm so happy to be joining my friend, the very beautiful model, actress, passionate supporter of sustainable fashion, fellow board member of FIT's Foundation Board of Directors, where she heads up our sustainability programs. And don't you love being at a gala where you can just be wearing slippers instead of stilettos? I mean, I'm sparkly, but you don't want to see what's on my feet and what's below my waist. But we're going to have fun tonight. So we're also joined tonight by three very special fashion designers, Tracy Reese, Yeohlee Teng, and Greg Lauren. I know and admire all of these designers who are having a positive impact on the environment with their work around sustainable fashion. Fashion sustainability has now become so much more than a buzzword, and rightfully so. And this past year, living through a global pandemic, has shown us all very clearly how we've been responsible for so many of the damaging effects on our environment and on this planet. We were able to see fish in the canals of Venice, imagine, and breathe clean air in India and China. And unfortunately, the fashion industry plays a big role in this space. The fashion industry is often cited as the second largest polluter in the world, just after the oil industry. 20% of industrial water pollution comes from textile treatments and dyes. Textile production also uses around 93 billion cubic meters of water annually, contributing to problems in some water-scarce regions. While this sounds dire, there actually is some good news, and the fashion industry has been making serious strides and commitments to becoming more sustainable and eco-friendly and conscious. But we all need to be a part of this transformative behavior. Let's make it a 2021 resolution. We can all make better choices and be smarter, and it can make a difference, and we can all feel better in this unprecedented year. Goodwill stores, the other piece of Goodwill's mission, and the one that we know them best for, are leading that charge. Goodwill has been recycling clothing for over 100 years, and in 2019 helped people to repurpose more than 43 million pounds of pre-owned clothing and household goods, positively contributing to sustainability and the environment. As Amber and I are both committed to sustainable fashion, advancing smarter consumption, and inspiring social change, the mission of Goodwill is very important to us, and Goodwill's thrift retail business is a mainstay of this mission and is indispensable to a more environmentally conscious world, which means a great deal to both Amber and me, and to our special guest designers. So with that said, I would like very much to introduce our first guest, Tracy Reese. Tracy is a very dear friend of mine for many, many years. I was always the first person to get backstage to congratulate her after her fashion shows at the tents. Tracy has recently moved her business back to her hometown of Detroit, and she has pivoted to being a sustainable fashion brand and advocate for social justice. It was such a thrill for all of us in the fashion industry when in 2009, First Lady Michelle Obama wore a custom Tracy Reese gown to the Democratic National Convention. Her colorful clothes have also been a favorite of other celebrities, like Sarah Jessica Parker, Tracee Ellis Ross, and Oprah Winfrey. Tracy has been a dominant force in the contemporary fashion industry for well over 20 years. That in a world with an increasingly fragile natural ecosystem, she must be on the path to produce more sustainable fashion. She and I spent some time together over a year ago in Copenhagen at the Sustainable Global Fashion Summit. Now that Tracy has moved her design studio back to her hometown, she's actively creating a modern, sustainable garment production hub and also building an artisan studio to create economic opportunities for women in underserved communities. So I'm thrilled to introduce Tracy Reese, who the designer Marc Jacobs, during my Fashion Icons interview with him at the 92Y, described her as an overachiever when they were at Parsons together. Tracy's special surprise for you this evening is a garment that she designed, reconfigured, and upcycled. It's made from some amazing garments she found at Goodwill stores, and it's up for auction tonight. So please, everybody watching, get out your bidding paddles and make that bid right on your screen. Take it away, Tracy.
Thank you, Fern, for that lovely intro. So happy to be here and discuss Goodwill and my Goodwill experiences and the making of this very unique piece for Goodwill's Evening of Treasures. I've been designing for over 30 years, and I absolutely love my work, and I find it a joy and a privilege to do every day. And, you know, the last few years, I've been focusing on sustainability and how to become a more responsible designer and roll more responsible practices into every facet of my work. And to that end, I launched a new brand called Hope for Flowers, which is responsibly designed. So every day I'm kind of growing into a greater and greater knowledge of what that means. And one really cool facet of responsible design is really looking at pieces that exist and giving them a new life. And we like to call that upcycling. And it's something that's new to me, actually. All of my career, I've created designs from scratch, you know, and we're living in a world with trillions and trillions and trillions of items of clothing, some of which end up in landfills and are polluting the planet. And we've got to change our practices and really look for the value in a lot of these things that already exist. So when Goodwill called me to be a part of this amazing project, you know, I had an emphatic yes for my answer because I want to explore this facet of design. And it was really such a fun process. I am a shopper. I love to shop. I love looking around. I love getting ideas from what I see in stores, great and small. I'm a big vintage shopper as well, and I'm always looking for interesting textiles and inspiration for prints and for colors. So I'm always in the vintage stores and at the flea markets, and I have been since I was young. And my mom really instilled in us, this, what do we call it? The joy actually of high-low shopping. And when we were younger, and we thought we needed all new things, she really encouraged us to look at other ways of creating or getting the things that we wanted. So, we always had chores where we could earn money, and we had little part-time jobs where we could have our own money and shop with our own funds. And she encouraged us to go off the beaten path, so Goodwill was part of that, finding things that were unique, that we could afford, that we could customize and make our own. And I'm blessed to have had such a mom. She was incredibly resourceful, and she taught us to be resourceful and self-sufficient. When I went to New York to attend Parsons, I was on such a tight budget, and I didn't have money to buy new clothing. And, there were some really wealthy kids that attended school with us that were constantly shopping and going into all the glamorous stores. And I knew that what I could afford was probably going to be secondhand, but that I could create a look that was uniquely my own. And when you're in design school, especially, it's so important, that you have your look, and something that is just you, and you're really at the beginning stages of creating your brand. So it was always fun to go out and find treasure and, show your brilliance and how you put the pieces together. So this is such a fun project, and the fact that it's a facet of how my business, Hope for Flowers, will go forth, makes it sort of like a seamless pairing for me. And we plan to offer, one-of-a-kind upcycled items on hopeforflowers.com in the future. That's just one facet of the business that we're layering in. So I've dipped my toes in the water and come up with a design that's, I think, is really cool. It was fun shopping at Goodwill. The prices were amazing. When I was rung up, the young woman who rung me up, she said, are you over 55 by any chance? And I said, yes, I am. And she said, no, you're not. And I said, yes, I am. I have my license. And I pulled it out. And she said, okay, well, you get an extra 20% off today because it's Seniors Day. So on top of the incredible bargain that I got with all of my little treasures, I got another 20% off. So that was amazing. Where else are you going to find a men's blazer for $6.99? Just asking. So I actually was looking for unique materials. So I shopped through all of the clothing, men's and women's, but I also looked in the home section to see some of the home textiles. There were some cool curtains and napkins, and I looked in lingerie as well, because I knew that if I was making an upcycled garment, I might need a lining layer, and to be able to, use a vintage slip or brassiere or something like that as part of the foundation garment, I thought could be really interesting. And I pulled multiple things because I just didn't know where inspiration would take me. So I pulled some colorful items that just had a lot of pop. One of my favorite pieces was a cute little gingham apron, and it's organza and has its own little pocket. And I just thought that was so brilliant, and to applicate it on something, I'm going to figure out how to use that in an interesting way in the future. But I ended up going for more of an evening look because I found a cardigan that had all this amazing fringe on it. And fringe is definitely something that's been trending up for quite some time. And so I thought that that was incredibly unique. I looked for a lace dress that I could perhaps use as an underlayer because my fringed cardigan is actually sheer. And then it's funny, I was at checkout when I looked over and saw the men's suiting rack, and I stepped away to add more treasure to my pile and found an oversized, well, oversized for women, but it was like a men's size 42, probably suit jacket. And even on my Hope for Flowers spring and summer collection, I layered in a shortened oversized jacket, like literally like a jacket that you kind of chopped off at the high hip. And I thought I could do something with this tailored blazer that's completely lined. I'm not sure it had even been worn. So that was a great find. And one of the pieces that really rounded out the look, I found a cocktail dress that actually had some marabou feather trim at the hem. And I was like, I can't pass that up. So all of these pieces came together in a look that I think is really cool. And I'm going to take you through those details in just a sec. So this is the look that we created. As you see, we've given you a shortened, oversized blazer. I absolutely love this. And added the marabou feather trim at the hem, which goes all around. And I'm a big fan, and I think this is another gift from Mom. She always liked to say, you know, I like a bit of dazzle. And I'd purchased some rhinestone trim for my collection, and I thought it would be really cool to add some random bits of shine to the blazer. So we appliqued these little bits, some buttons and some little pretty little dangly bits here. But it's a really cool length. And I wanted you to see my assistant, Catherine, finished all of this by hand. And, you know, this is just some of the love that can go into an upcycled garment. So we decided to cut it off and fold it up. And then she appliqued the hem with pretty little cross stitches, and we folded up the pocket placement. So this becomes a really personal piece that's got, you know, some really beautiful detail. And obviously this can be worn by itself, or it can be worn with the outfit. So just to show, you know, looks cute with my outfit actually. So it's a very, and the dress beneath, we used our fringe cardigan, and we actually decided to turn it backward so that we would have this high jewel neck. And we layered it over a lace dress. So I found this cute little lace dress here, and I thought it made a great lining. And you can actually see some of the impressions of the lace design beneath the sheer areas of the fringe dress. And in the back, the cardigan actually had this pearl trim down the front edges, and we decided to keep that at center back. And you see more of the lace dress beneath, so it's a perfect lining. And that had its own nude lining. And then just to make this really fun, we added some rhinestone fringe detail so that we could really amplify the idea of fringing. So the rhinestone fringe, you see here, we've got different shapes. This one kind of drapes down in a triangle, and then the straight fringe, and we alternated that. And then we added bits of rhinestone trim all around the garment and gave it like a rhinestone necklace here that attaches to itself and back like a normal necklace. So it's a really cool dress. The cardigan already had shoulder pads, so I'm living for that. So we kept that extended shoulder line, and this fringe actually, it had long sleeves, this jacket, and we cut them off so that we had just this one layer of fringe to cover the cap of the sleeve. So I think it's such a unique dress, super cool. I think it's really right for now. And it's funny, I was on the fence, am I making an art piece? Am I making something that someone might be able to actually wear and use in their lives? And, that's a big deal for me, to create items that, have a place in someone's life and a use. So I'm happy that we could create something that was actually useful. And we've actually got two pieces that can be worn together or apart. So this is our super fringed treasure, and hope you love it as much as I do.
A workforce development program is a program that aims to help someone attach themselves to the workforce and connects them to employment. The program really helps them put the finishing touches on their resume, prepare for interviews, and connect them with as many job opportunities as possible so that they can find something that is a fit for them and where they are a fit for the employer.
Goodwill through HRA, they put me in the program because I was so broke, I couldn't do anything with my life, I'm trying so hard, I was so desperate. So I went to HRA for to get food stamps and stuff, and they told me, why don't you go in this program? And sure enough, Miss Elliott stepped in, and
so the first time I seen him, I'm like, oh my goodness. So he came into the classroom, he sat and he listened. He came here not knowing what's going to happen. And from what he explained, he thought this is it. He's going to take his life away. He don't want to be bothered. He don't want to live anymore. Depression is what he faced with. Missing his children, no housing, alcoholism, the wrong people around him that he's used to, and he feel like there was no one on this earth for him. That awaiting me now to say, hey, you're alive. There's everything here possible that you can do. Just give yourself that chance.
You don't come across people like that so often, and I'm grateful to God that I met her, and she came into my life, and helped me out, she believed in me. Goodwill program will help you not only to get a job, but to believe in yourself.
And one of my key words that I use, never walk sideways, and that goes with your attitude, not believing.
Not to walk, like you said, sideways, to walk in a straight line, do things right, with respect towards others, especially in the job site, It lasted 3 months. There was no business. Little by little, I started becoming depressed. I went down the hole, the rabbit hole, and that was bad. It was difficult because I had 3 daughters, I had a wife, and all of a sudden you have nothing. I went to jail, got into a fight with my ex-wife. It's something difficult to talk about, because I'm not a person like that, If I want my daughters to see me, I want my daughters to see me as a successful person. Not just a guy with horns, and black eyes and stuff like that. No, I want them to see the real me. New York is the capital of the world, and they say if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. Not so. If you can make it in New York, you made it, period. I lost everything. I was sleeping on the floor, I cried until I couldn't cry no more. The job, job thing came, and Miss Elliott called me. You need to apply here, and I applied right away. I went in. I was nervous. I didn't want to get rejected, because I've been there before, and it's painful,
Everything they ask for, you're going to bring it, because this job is yours. And I want you to believe that. And he was hired. Out of so many, got the job. And he's working at Creedmoor. And time ago, I said, Miss Elliott, they put me down in the basement. I said, it's okay. Because it's going to come a time where everyone's going to see you and hear you. And you speak to you. of the great person you are that I saw. Now he's moved up to a fourth, and he said, a lady said to him a few days ago, when I saw you, I walked away, I didn't even want to say hello or good morning. Now they're telling him how great he is. And saying, Miss Elliott, I love my job.
I couldn't be happier. God is great, you know, I mean, He uses Miss Elliott and all these beautiful ladies that helped me get this job, you know. God bless them, you know. It's been great. Well, the future holds for me, yeah, obviously I'm staying in this job, but at the same time, I would like to be a motivational speaker. When you go to Goodwill, you have to go in the mind frame that this program is going to work for you. It's that simple, you know. If you go there scared, I understand. You know, we're scared, we're doubting everyone, but don't be, you know. Just go with it, you know. Listen and learn. I mean, look at me. I mean, really look at me. A guy like me went to that program, but I have faith in my heart that it will change my life, and it did. So Goodwill to me is the best thing that happened, you know. I mean, if you don't take advantage of that, you know, it's your loss. There's a lot of good people working in Goodwill to help you. But remember this, in order for them to help you, you gotta help yourself. Don't walk in there with an attitude. Don't walk in there, you know, like they owe you anything, because they don't. Be humble. Get there, you know, they will help you. Smile. That's it.
I am so moved by how Goodwill was able to really change one's life for the better. And I am so inspired by Tracy for all that she's doing for the environment. Please take a minute to bid on her fabulous creation. Go to the button that says bid on the auction to the left of your screen. The lucky winner will take it home. Now it is my pleasure and privilege to introduce our evening's honoree, Don M. Wilson III, who recently retired from the Goodwill board after 20 years of service. But before I introduce Don, I want to share some of the most life-changing work that took place at Goodwill over the past 20 years, while Don was involved as a leader. For people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, Goodwill helped them build life skills such as the ability to take a bus or train by themselves, to make friends, to manage their money, and to share their needs and ideas with others. For people with mental illness, Goodwill provided access to doctors and therapists so their clients could get well, and then help them to develop skills to live on their own in their own home, develop friends in their community, and go to college. For people with low income, Goodwill focused on removing barriers to employment such as lack of work experience and education, transportation, equipment, and childcare. Then, Goodwill helped their clients to find jobs and learn new skills that employers would want with customized training, and even help them to obtain positions in high-demand fields. To top it off, Goodwill provided support for months and even years after clients were placed in jobs, so people would develop the skills to keep their jobs, and this has made all the difference. During Mr. Wilson's tenure on the board of directors, Goodwill served more than 1.6 million people, including nearly 337,000 individuals with disabilities, and placed over 173,000 job seekers in jobs. Let's now meet Don M. Wilson III, who will be interviewed by Goodwill board member and fashion industry legend, Doug Hant. Take it away, Don and Doug.
Hello, everyone. And hi, Don. It's great to be here with you this evening. Thank you for joining us, and congratulations on being honored tonight.
Doug, thank you. It's a delight to be with you in this wonderful event, and I am quite humbled and, as I said, honored to be recognized this evening by my friends at Goodwill.
Well, Don, you were on the board for 20 years, and I just got here. I'm the newest board member. Can you tell me why you stayed on the board for so long and dedicated such energy and resources during 2 decades?
Well, for me, it was really the mission of Goodwill. You know, Goodwill just celebrated its 100th anniversary, And that mission resonated with me when I began my service, and it resonates with me today as I end my time with Goodwill. That mission, quite simply put, is to recondition one of life's great necessities, which is clothing, and to use those proceeds and that asset to help people that are less fortunate than us. Most specifically, people with health challenges, be they mental health or those with disabilities, either in body or in disabilities. And the second group of people that we've helped for many, many years and continue to do so are those in the lower income ranges who need assistance and help along the way to re-enter the workforce. That mission is accomplished by a terrific team of people who not only produce and recondition the goods that we sell, but those that work in our 23 retail stores in the New York area to carry forth that part of our mission.
Indeed. Do you have any personal connection to Goodwill's mission? Some reason that you got involved beyond just Goodwill's mission itself?
Three reasons come to mind. First off, as a youngster growing up in Ohio and as the oldest of five sons, it was not uncommon that when school season began, we would need to re-equip our wardrobes. And I remember as a young boy, those autumn trips to Goodwill with my mom and my brothers. The second thing that has always been in my memory with Goodwill is that in my own family, we have a member who is a Down syndrome person and who has had a terrific life in the workplace, assisted along the way by institutions quite like Goodwill. And the third reason was, frankly, I began my career in New York at the former Chemical Bank, which is now JP Morgan Chase. And two of our predecessor chairmen, Don Platten, and followed by Walter Shipley, were both chairmen at Goodwill and were very encouraging to me to consider to become part of that operation with its mission.
That's great. I'm curious, do you have any Goodwill story that you can share with us?
Well, I've got many. The one I remember with a bit of glee is early in my tenure on the board, I decided that I wanted to see sort of up close, the inner workings of the clothing operations. So I volunteered one morning to go out to Astoria, and I worked in the warehouse, starting at the loading dock when we receive, the big wholesale bundles to begin the work of reconditioning and sorting and working with those teams and really getting a real feel as to the essence of the value proposition for Goodwill.
Yeah, I've seen that too. It's remarkable. The amount of donations and the way in which it's sorted is pretty remarkable. Is there anything, Don, that you would like to say to Goodwill's board, staff, and clients?
All three. First to the board. It's just been a great pleasure for me to have been so welcomed by all of my board colleagues. Most certainly Chairman Hank Goss and his team for so many years through so many important environments that we've had to operate in greater New York. It's been a true delight to be associated with the management team led by Katie Golstiggy. It's a terrific team. They're really good at what they do. They are impassioned about what they do, and they're committed to the essence of that mission statement that is so important to Goodwill. Finally, of course, that broad group of people that Goodwill has served for generations, and those people that work in our stores to help us continue with that mission of getting quality, reconditioned, one of life's great necessities, clothing, into people's hands. So all three constituencies, I have great admiration, respect, and gratitude for.
Well, thank you so much for those words as a board member. Is there anything you'd like the audience to know? And, in particular, why they should get involved in Goodwill's future?
Well, I think it's hard to disagree with the mission. I think that the mission it's sort of eternal. The mission is never really accomplished, and those in need are quite needy. And the way that Goodwill creates value for its clients and for those who support its retail clothing operations, it's a tremendous value proposition to be part of. Resources don't grow on trees. We're a not-for-profit organization that husbands its resources very carefully. And I would encourage all of us that are participating in this wonderful event this evening, and by the way, kudos to those that have worked so hard to create this event, that a great opportunity exists to participate in that mission by being generous financially to what Goodwill is trying to do.
Well, Don, your commitment to Goodwill has been massive. Your impact has been enormous, and we all appreciate it very, very much. Your belief in the power of Goodwill and its mission statement is inspiring. It's really been my honor to speak with you this evening. I wish we could spend another decade together on the board. Thank you for everything that you have done for Goodwill.
Well, you're very kind to say that, Doug, and I must say that I'm more than a bit jealous that you've got so much runway in front of you with the future of Goodwill, because it's never been brighter. There's a lot to be done. The mission, I'm sure, given the talent of the people on the board, the talent of the people that make things happen every day at the company, and the needs of those that are so well served by Goodwill, make the future quite bright. And I'm jealous that I'm still not part of it. Thank you.
Well, thank you too, Don. Take care. Good night.
Thank you.
Don, you are totally welcome to come back and join us anytime. We really honor your commitment, and it's been such a pleasure working with you over these years. It's amazing to see all you've accomplished in the 20 years on the board at Goodwill. Thank you again for your service, and we're thrilled to honor you this evening. Good evening, everyone from all over New York and New Jersey, and welcome to the inaugural Evening of Treasures from Goodwill, New York, New Jersey. We're so happy to have you with us. As you heard from Amber and Fern, the goal of this evening is to raise critical support for the COVID Crisis Fund. This fund will aid our work with participants like Juan and Denzel and Keegan, who you will soon meet. As you saw with Juan, we not only get people jobs, which is critical, but we serve the whole person. We help them identify their career dreams and give them supports to pursue them. COVID, however, has hit us hard. To give you a sense of what we're facing, during the COVID pause, we had to temporarily close all our Goodwill stores. Now, you can imagine, these stores are what fuel us. They support our work with over 30,000 individuals a year. So with them closed, we lost a critical source of revenue. And unfortunately, we were too big to receive some of the federal funding to support nonprofits. Now, as you can imagine, these stores are the engine that drive our funding and allow us to do so much of our good work. So these closures had a huge impact. Thankfully, our stores have been reopened, but it's a changing world out there and a changing environment in retail. So a lot of our traffic is down and we can't rely on the stores the way we used to. Even with this lack of incoming resources, Goodwill New York, New Jersey was completely committed to being there for our participants who need us now more than ever. Our staff didn't miss a beat. 90% of our 62 programs did a miraculous job of pivoting on a dime to remote services. We did virtual job fairs, therapy, interviews, everything that we could do virtually, we switched. And suddenly we realized that people didn't have phones, they didn't have laptops, and sometimes not even internet in their homes. Folks got on the subway, our staff got in their cars, and they made sure that everyone had what they needed in this critical time to stay healthy and connect to the power of work. When you hear their stories tonight, Behind each story is a Goodwill staff member, rooting them on, oftentimes for years and sometimes even decades. They root with their heart and their soul. That's what inspires and humbles me when I do this job. People like Miss Elliott, Ganesh, and Liz. These are folks that really believe in the whole person. They connect you to the power of work and your future dreams. You'll see that we just don't stop with one job. We stay with people. And that's what I love about being part of the Goodwill movement. So tonight, we're humbly asking you to raise funds for our COVID Crisis Fund to help us continue to do this work in these unprecedented and tough times. We'll be playing a major role in putting the massive numbers of newly unemployed people back to work as this crisis lessens and more people find themselves without employment. To do this, our crisis fund needs to be strong so we can respond as needed to the crises that are happening as we have since March. There's soaring rates of mental illness due to the isolation and COVID, and we're fighting this battle too, working to expand our mental health programs for people with this illness. We're making sure that those with developmental disabilities are not dying and staying safe, even though they have a higher mortality rate from COVID than others. And we're making sure that everyone can thrive. I hope and I know that we will be playing a major role when it comes to helping those that are unemployed get into work as millions are out of work. I know that we're going to be at the front lines as mental illness is growing, as people suffer from isolation. And I know that we're helping people with autism and other health conditions stay healthy and well during COVID, which impacts them more greatly than others. That's what Goodwill is all about, and that's what we're going to do going forward. We've never let a crisis affect us before, and we won't this time. I invite each of you to lock arms with us tonight. Support this fund. Please do it for all of us at Goodwill. Donate now to the left of your screen. As you saw with Juan, you'll be saving a life. Thank you so very much.
Thanks, Katie, for sharing how Goodwill pivoted miraculously under COVID. That is heroic, and you are all heroes. During these trying times, many of us have been blessed to take comfort in our homes, our families, our friends, and the simple things. Imagine then how difficult it's been for some people who receive services from Goodwill, not only worrying about contracting COVID, losing their in-person services with trusted social workers, and losing employment, but also fighting for mere survival. People who have lost or who were without a job and worried about providing safety and food for themselves and their family never had. A job they worked what seemed like a lifetime to secure, and don't have a computer or ability to operate it to connect with the outside world to find their next job. They don't know when or how they will find a good job again, and with that, a safe, secure, and meaningful life. During COVID, as Katie shared, Goodwill has worked with each of these individuals, helping them stay well and safe in these difficult times. And we are here tonight raising funds for the Goodwill COVID Crisis Fund to help fund that work. Please go to the Donate Now button on the left of your screen and make a gift. If you donate $250, you will receive a beautiful Coach wallet as a gift. Every gift you will make will change a life. Now back to you, Fern.
Thanks, Amber. Please all support the Goodwill COVID Crisis Fund. Now let's meet our second designer making a sustainable impact, Greg Lauren. Greg is a pioneer in sustainable fashion. Upcycling was part of Greg's repertoire long before we were calling it that. Lauren subverted and recontextualized menswear archetypes, cutting Savile Row suits out of vintage army duffels and reconstructing vintage rowing blazers into new and unique pieces. Earlier this year, Lauren introduced a new concept to his brand, GL Scraps, taking scraps that no matter how small, that would have been considered waste in the production process. Lauren repurposes these leftovers into new and unique pieces. Greg is also an artist, an actor with a Princeton degree in art history, and yes, his uncle is Ralph. And we couldn't be more delighted to have him with us tonight to share with us an upcycled garment he made from Goodwill finds. So Greg, take it away.
Thank you, Fern, and thank you, Amber. I am honored to be one of tonight's featured upcycling designers, alongside my fellow guest designers, Tracy Reese and Yeohlee Teng. Tracy, that piece was unbelievable. It was so inspiring, and I cannot wait to see your piece, Yeohlee. And of course, thank you to Goodwill. Tonight is amazing, not only in celebrating sustainable fashion and the power of work during COVID, but in using the proceeds from tonight to put low-income people and people with disabilities to work. It's an incredible, incredible evening. I was so excited about this opportunity because deconstructing and using repurposed vintage garments and materials has been something that I've been doing since my very first collection. And I've always loved creating things from materials and garments which had been discarded or forgotten. And then I love the idea of transforming them into something entirely new. It's that complete transformation which inspires me creatively. I remember the very first jacket that I ever made. I had just learned to sew, and I literally was looking for a piece of material to use. And I looked down, I was in my art studio, and I literally used the paint splattered, dust covered drop cloth in my art studio that I was planning on throwing away. And I thought to myself, no, that's gonna make an amazing piece. And so I moved everything out of the way. I grabbed it and I cut and sewed it to the best that I could. And it was absolutely horrible. It was a mess. I put the left sleeve on the right side and the right sleeve on the left side. And when I tore it off and I removed the sleeve, I tore it and I had to fix it and mend it. By the time I got finished with this piece, I stayed with it and I kept working on it until it was complete. It was amazing. It was so perfectly imperfect, and it had everything. It had all of the stories that drop cloth had, that I wore it with the pride as if it was the most beautiful piece I'd ever seen. And I think that is what is so beautiful about upcycling and about using pre-loved garments and materials to create something new. It's about giving things a second life. And I think that's what tonight is also about. It's about opportunity, making sure that everybody has an opportunity to thrive and be the best possible version of themselves. So I was, again, really excited about tonight and creating this piece. So it was really important for me to make sure that there were two very important pillars of sustainability that are part of what we do at Greg Lauren, and make sure that those were upheld in creating tonight's piece. So first, we launched the GL Scraps Initiative, which is literally using all of our own cutting wastage. So we use all of the scraps that we create from making our own pieces to create new pieces. And the second is this idea that's become increasingly important to me and my team, which is making more from less and creating function out of things that otherwise would have been thrown away. So I'm going to talk about my experience in creating this piece. I know this is a virtual event, so I'm not sure where all of you are. I am a born and bred New Yorker who happens to be working in Los Angeles. So while I shouldn't be talking about how cold it is, while it's really warm out here, I'm just making the point that in honor of my New York heritage, I want to create something that would be functional and be able to be used immediately right now to whoever buys this piece. So we'll get to that in a minute. But first of all, I had the most amazing experience working with Goodwill for my shopping experience. I virtually shopped at the 25th Street location of Goodwill. And a little shout out to Michelle at the 25th Street location, who took me through rows and rows of pieces. I was amazed at the variety and the selection and the impeccable organization of every category, every color. It was incredible to see that kind of work and commitment going into, again, giving all these used pieces, these pre-loved pieces, an opportunity to find a second life and to be used again for such a great cause. So when we were shopping, I decided to stick with what we do at Greg Lauren, which is we normally use a lot of repurposed and vintage military stuff. So I said to Michelle, can you please find me the rack with all of the army green and olive green pieces? All were used to create not just one piece, but an entire look that I thought could be used immediately, again, in the cold weather in New York. So let's get to it. I'm going to pull out the piece. This is what we call our retro puffy jacket. And if you look closely, I'm just going to bring in here. This was made from 9 different pieces. We found flight jackets, we found little pairs of shorts, sweatshirts, tops, and everything was cut into 6-inch squares that was stitched into what we call GL scrap work. And for this, I would say this is kind of a collaboration. So I would call it the GLX Goodwill scrap work. So this was made entirely from everything that we found at the 25th Street location and turned into the fabric that we then cut this piece out of. And if you look really close, I'm going to bring it in. Forgive the closeness here, but literally you can see these are all fabrics from 9 or 10 different pieces. And once we cut the pieces, everything was used in some way on this piece or the other pieces that we made. So, for example, the nylon, even the linings were used to create these beautiful cargo pockets down here. I wanted this piece to really reflect the importance of comfort and utility, especially right now. So every detail, see the fabric on the back, all stitched together from different pieces. This came from another smaller jacket. You get your very own important pocket, utility pocket right on the hood for those of you who need that. Underneath this piece, we turned a small, very small sized flight jacket into this incredible utility vest. And last but not least, I found the most beautiful army wool trench coat that was too small. So we like to see things as completely different as they are. So that turned into this beautiful pair of cargo pants. This was a misshapen trench coat that was beautiful, and I'm sure it was beautiful in its original state. I saw it as a beautiful pair of pants that could be worn now and throughout the year. So the idea was creating 3 pieces that would be a full look for whoever is lucky enough to get this tonight, and to really embody the GL Scraps initiative and this idea of making more from less. And I hope you enjoyed it. And again, thank you to everybody involved in this evening. It's so special. And I'm really counting on all of you to place some really high bids on this, because these are beautiful pieces and they're going to such a great cause. So let's do it.
Having a community like Goodwill really uplifts your overall being. My family doesn't really support me like that. They know I have an illness, but they don't really support me. But I had the art to help me go through some of my circumstances. What was happening in my life at the time, I was in a shelter. I had to deal with being around people who had substance abuse, violent people. So I kept to myself. And that's one of the things that art helped me to develop is patience. My first experience with Goodwill was a good one. At the time, I had difficulty finding housing, and they really helped me find housing. I remember the first day I came to this new home, and they showed me the apartment, and they were telling me, okay, it's yours. So I was so happy and relieved that I had a support system that helped me to get to where I want to be.
Here at Goodwill, our programs are really trying to help people become employed, especially people with mental illness. They learn how to be in the workforce. They learn the skills necessary to keep a job or to get a job and to maintain it for that short period. We're also teaching them, how to interview and how to do their resume and how to send a cover letter.
Coming to Goodwill, I was at a depressed state as usual. I didn't know that I could get a job because of my illness. But sometimes I can blame others other than myself.
I remember Keegan coming through the door with a big smile. He said, I want to work. I want to work. I need to work. Work is part of my life.
So the beginning process of me getting a job was putting my name on the board, several positions of messenger work. I walked in one day and they said, hey, Keegan, we have a job for you. And I was so happy.
He was here and I looked at Keegan and I said, "Wow, that's Keegan? You look awesome." And he was like, "I know, work does this for me."
As they say, confidence is a key to success. Goodwill has gained me so much confidence that I can actually put on paper that I'm disabled. One day I was drawing and one of the staff came to me and was curious about what I was drawing, and they were so excited and they said,
"Wow, that's really nice." And I said, "This is really good stuff." And I said, "Why don't you submit it to an Israeli clubhouse, because I know that they're having a competition and they're selecting artwork, and I think that you might have a chance."
I immediately went to the store and grabbed some canvas and I began drawing again.
An organization in Jerusalem chose Keegan's painting for an exhibit. And because of that, we decided to go into fundraising mode and raise the funds for Keegan to go to Jerusalem to do his presentation along with a staff member.
"Oh, we got some good news." They wouldn't tell me what it is. I said, "What's the good news?" "Oh, you're going to Israel." I was so happy. I was so happy.
I hadn't seen his work. I hadn't known to what extent his artistic abilities. And I didn't see it until after they won. And I was completely blown away by the work.
Unfortunately, because of COVID, things were canceled and, it's been put on hold. Otherwise, we would have been in Jerusalem in August.
COVID has significantly affected our community. It goes back to the fact that mental illness in itself is a very lonely experience, and people become withdrawn, people isolate. And so right now in the midst of this pandemic, when the safe thing to do is to isolate, that is not healthy for our folks that we work with.
The COVID hit, and now Keegan was part of 30 million Americans that lost their jobs during COVID.
And so what we've had to do during the pandemic is really offer services remotely and try as best as we can to bring all of those things to folks over the phone or over Zoom.
A lot of people are losing their job and due to COVID, and I happen to have a job. So I'm very lucky, very fortunate that Goodwill is by my side and helping me throughout the whole process.
I like to think that Goodwill has helped him to explore his talents, meet his goals, recover with his talents along with his employment. When you employ people with disabilities, it just speaks magnitudes of what Goodwill has done and how they've cemented their footprint.
My dream for my life is to be known for my artwork and my music and my arias that I do. And the arias reflect on the artwork. So it's all connected, like in the Italian Renaissance. I really wanted to be noticed for my art and in all forms.
Keegan, you are a beautiful person, and I am so glad Goodwill helped you find a home and realize your dreams. I also want to thank Greg. Your work is really beautiful. Everyone, please take a moment to bid on Greg's work so you can own his one-of-a-kind piece. Please go to the button that says Bid on the Auction to the left of your screen. And now, I am honored to bring to you a surprise guest. Our entertainment for the evening dedicated her song to our honoree, Dawn Wilson. Turn up your speakers, everyone, and sit back and listen. Enjoy to Victoria Canal.
Good evening, everyone. It's Victoria Canal here. I'm so honored to be joining you this evening and share a special song in tribute to Dawn Wilson. This world really needs more people like Dawn. I also want to salute the Goodwill board and staff for their tireless, unending, life-changing work. Above all, I want to dedicate this song to Juan and Keegan and Denzel, who you will soon meet, who really blow me away with their strength and resilience and determination in the face of extraordinary adversity. This song is dedicated to everybody out there who's searching and determined to create and build the life of their dreams. It's called Unclear.
desperation we call life. I wish someone would go ahead and just tell me that all my dreams turn out alright. This long, unending journey is not what terrifies me the most. It's the flag that waves at the end of the race. Is it gonna be everything I'd ever hoped? Oh, why is nothing ever clear? There's no simple answer here, so I just sigh and fall onto my bed, forgetting I exist, 'cause it's easier. These pieces form inside me, a puzzle I can take apart. But at the end of the day, is there anyone who say, yes I do, I wanna listen to your heart? Oh, why is nothing ever clear? There's no simple answer here, so I just sigh and fall onto my bed, forgetting I exist, 'cause it's easier. Do I wanna go down this road? Am I willing to sell my life? So do I wanna go down this road? Am I willing to sell my life? So nothing ever clear. Oh, I sigh. There's no simple answer here. Oh, I cry. There's nothing ever clear. Oh, I sigh. There's no simple answer here. Do I wanna go down this road? Am I willing to sell my life? So do I wanna go down this road? Do I wanna go down this?
Growing up, we always had a dog, and animals are more straightforward than people. They won't beat around the bush or lie to you. They're straightforward about what they want. I've been assaulted on the bus once before, and nobody did anything to help me, which kind of led to my distrust of people in general.
When Denzel initially came, he really wanted to work with animals. That was his passion. He briefly did a dog walking internship. He told staff that working with animals was one of his passions, because he didn't have to interact with people.
Before I came to Goodwill, I lived with my mother and my father most of my life. My father passed away when I was 11, and it was just me, my mother, and my brother. We never exactly got along.
And he did not want to live with her, so he was connected through an independent living where he lives in a residence with other individuals with disabilities as well.
needed a job, I needed money. My roommate told me about how he was doing Access BR and he had found jobs. I went to Access, they told me about Goodwill, and that's how I got here.
Goodwill Industries' Advanced Autism Program is a job placement program funded through the City of New York that serves people on the autism spectrum. Many of the individuals who have come to us have experienced maybe not the greatest success in the community. They've had different jobs. Some of those jobs have not ended well for them. They're frustrated. They're looking for an opportunity to explore something maybe that they haven't had a lot of experience in, and then hopefully find a career path going forward.
My biggest challenge was job applications because I have a difficulty with reading and spelling, so trying to fill one out was the biggest hurdle.
When he came to Goodwill, he was a very shy, closed-off person. He did not interact with the other participants. Denzel started to join in. He would join in every month when we had the socials. He would engage in activities. That's the first time that I actually saw Denzel coming out of his shell. That was the first break that I've actually seen him communicate with other people.
I heard about the opportunity with Shake Shack. Nobody in the office was interested in it. No one spoke up. So I figured, okay, this is my shot, so I might as well just take it. I said I was interested.
When he first got employed at Shake Shack in January of last year, he was very scared, very nervous. He never worked in fast food or working around anyone at all because of his fear of his anxiety being around people.
I was incredibly nervous. I broke down crying once or twice.
Some of the individuals in the program may later qualify for more support services over the long run. So we do offer a range of supports. Some are fairly intensive at the very beginning of the job. They might be actually at the job site. They might be remote. And as the person sort of moves forward in the job, they're able to say whether or not they're looking for long-term supports.
Mr. Ganesh was there before I started my shift. They told me how proud of me they were and that they know that I was going to do fine. He was mostly there for support, having somebody in my corner if I needed somebody to talk to about stuff.
Denzel is not the same person that he was when I first met him. He is not shy, very confident in himself, very well spoken. Working at Shake Shack, being compassionate and understanding towards customers the same way he has been working with animals, kind of transfer those skills over to working in the fast food industry.
Today will be the 1-year anniversary that Denzel has started, and I can say it has been a phenomenal year. He has helped us everywhere from the front of house with our guests to the kitchen, mingling with our team. He has been such a great addition and a person that we could depend on. Society
needs to understand that not all stereotypes are true and that certain people can accomplish, greater things if you just give them the opportunity and really get to know them.
Wow, Victoria, thank you for the gift of song. That was so beautiful and moving. I also find the way Goodwill provides services and a livelihood to people like Denzel with developmental disabilities to be very moving and beautiful. The Goodwill COVID Crisis Fund is helping raise support to cover the costs of serving these individuals remotely during COVID. Please make a donation now by going to the donate button on the left of your screen. Remember, a gift of $250 will give you a gift of a beautiful Coach wallet.
Thank you, Amber. Yeohlee has been incorporating sustainable practices into her work since she launched that business 40 years ago. Her strong zero waste philosophy makes her a true pioneer of the movement and makes sure that no scrap of fabric goes unused. Watching her cut a pattern is like watching an architect designing floor plans or an engineer building something. Her geometric shapes use every inch of her technically sourced fabrics. Yeohlee's work has been featured in numerous exhibitions worldwide and is part of the permanent collections of the Victoria and Albert Museum in London and the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York. Her collections have also been featured in my closet and on my body for many, many years. Yeohlee is a very dear friend of mine and an important friend of mine, like I said, for at least 30 years. She told me how much fun she had shopping at 2 different Goodwill stores and selecting several great pieces that she upcycled and reconfigured. And she will present them to us now. So get ready to bid and support Goodwill's COVID Fund. Take it away, Yeohlee.
Hi, everyone. Meet my fabulous model, Violet. And here she is in something that's at the moment upcycled from 1, 2, 3, 4 items from Goodwill. The best place in the world to shop. If you have any imagination, that is. Now that outfit is only the beginning of what we have to show you. Besides the jacket and the pant with the flags, let's have a tour. Excellent. You have a skirt. Now let's see you turn around with the skirt. And the skirt is made out of a jacket. And go there so they can see the neckline, that's the hem. Walk that way and come back. And to top it off, ta-da, you have a coat. Now walk that way and back. For me, started with Doug Han, who is one of Goodwill's board members. He approached me because of my history with him and in sustainability, which is something that I've embraced from the beginning of my career, which is back in 1981. And zero waste has always been a passion. And this was a perfect segue for me to work with Goodwill, because Goodwill is the king and queen of sustainability. And I was thrilled to be part of this project. And I really had immense joy shopping in Goodwill on New Year's Day, where I spent a good hour or more at the Goodwill on 5th Avenue and 14th Street. And the staff there were really helpful. And the manager filmed me from my phone shopping there. In any case, from the 14th Street store, I managed to pull 24 pieces. And in this outfit, we have 6 of them combined to make one look. Zero waste has always been part of my core philosophy. It was the way I grew up. I grew up in Malaysia. Everybody wore a sarong. And if anybody knows anything about sarongs, they are a rectangular piece of cloth, zero waste. Men wore it, women wore it, children wore it. And it became, I guess it seeped into the core of my being. Beyond that, the other thing that I believe our practice has to entail is not wasting anything else. And I think that the most precious commodity that we have is time. So use your time well, don't waste it. So here's Violet with a mask made out of the front of a leather jacket. And she's in a coat that's made out of 2 garments. Would you walk for us, please? There you go. So here you go. There's underneath the jacket or coat. Violet has a top, a skirt, and a pair of pants that have flags on them. And I'll show everything to you. There you go. Let's do another walk. So it's one look in many different parts. There's a pan that looks like a jot fur, flying flags. There's a top, there's a mask, there's a skirt, right side up, upside down, front and back, and a coat. A lot of bang for your buck. So enjoy. Thank you.
Most people don't know that the fashion industry is the second biggest polluter after the oil industry. And worse than that, 1 out of every 2 people throw their clothing right into the landfill. This dress I'm wearing today is from Goodwill. And the reason that I buy and wear clothes that are used is because of the environmental impact. In fact, if everyone just bought 1 used garment this year, we would save over 25 billion gallons of clean water. That's why I love the double impact of sustainable and mission at Goodwill.
When people donate to us, it's not just something that gets tossed away. What may have been unimportant to them now has just become much more important because of what it's going to do in its next life. It allows us to pay for training programs for people with disabilities or barriers to help them enter the workforce and build dignity. Additionally, it helps the environment. The less waste that goes into landfills, the cleaner air we have, the more sustainable world we live in.
I've been doing this visual merchandising thing for quite some time now, probably about 15 years. And I would say here at the Goodwill is the first time ever that I've creatively showcased exactly what I feel and exactly what I think could be trendy to a customer and to a customer's eyes. The idea of getting people who are trendy to shop secondhand is amazing because it's not wasteful. Like, you're taking something that was already used and you're reusing it again. So with upcycling, it's just as simple as buying a jacket similar to something like this and removing the buttons. For people that are into upcycling and taking things apart and stripping fabrics and redoing appliques. So that recycling process is so amazing because the clothes are getting another use out of it. It's not only saving the environment, but it's putting a longer lifespan on such a great product.
Our e-commerce department lists items that are sent to us from our stores, and they're deemed to be some higher quality items. There are certain categories you will not find in our Goodwill stores, you will only find online. A Goodwill donations life cycle lasts for about over a month in our stores. Whatever doesn't sell there is then pulled and sent to us here in South Hackensack, where we sell it in our outlet store. We change out our sales floor 6 to 8 times a day, so we offer new products to our customers almost every hour. In our current COVID world, many more people have been shopping at the outlet that otherwise wouldn't. We typically have a line anywhere about 30 to 50 individuals before we open. Clothing that doesn't sell in our outlet stores is brought out the back door, where we then put it into a bale machine. These machines make 1,000 to 1,300 pound bricks of clothing that we then sell to our salvage vendors. We make sure that no textile ends up in the trash or in the landfill. It does not happen here. We recycle north of 40 million pounds a year of textiles, but just through our salvage business alone, we're doing more than 12 million pounds a year.
At Goodwill, we give these great clothes a second life. Together, we can all make a sustainable impact. As a mother of 2 small children, I want to make sure that I'm leaving a healthier planet for them. That's why the work we do at Goodwill makes such an impact and is so important.
Good evening. I am Henry Goss, Chairman of the Board of Goodwill of Greater New York and Northern New Jersey. It is a distinct pleasure to salute my friend Don Wilson as our honoree this evening. He has done so much to influence the effective management of Goodwill over 20 years as a board member. We will always be indebted to him. I miss your one-line, to-the-point inputs, Don. I also want to thank our fantastic hosts for the evening, Amber Valletta and Fern Mallis. Our hats are off to them. I also want to thank prominent fashion designers Yeohlee, Greg, and Tracy for joining forces this evening to create magnificent upcycled designs from Goodwill finds, the proceeds of which will help keep Goodwill well positioned to deliver services to the disabled and disadvantaged during and after the pandemic. These difficult times are nothing new to Goodwill. We have done it before, rising many times to the occasion to help the community. It was just 3 years after our 1915 founding in Brooklyn. The New York City metro region faced the fatal Spanish flu pandemic, largely brought home by U.S. troops returning from World War I. Goodwill founders trained people to mend and sell the clothing and goods they collected from well-to-do families. Less than 30 years later, Goodwill provided employment and training for those vets returning from World War II. In more recent times, Goodwill organized a large-scale jobs fair in Madison Square Garden after the attacks of 9/11, and at Resorts World Casino in Queens after Hurricane Sandy in 2012. Goodwill of Greater New York and Northern New Jersey was also instrumental in the recovery of the local economy during the Great Recession of 2008-9. As Katie noted, we have redefined how we provide services to ensure the safety of our teams and the people we serve. While the world has changed, Goodwill has doubled down on our mission to connect with thousands of the needy and ambitious to the power of work. My fellow members of the Goodwill Board of Directors have all exhibited leadership, generosity, and dedication during these unprecedented times. I also must thank the whole staff, emphatically thank the whole staff of Goodwill of New York, Greater New York, and Northern New Jersey for their tireless work and commitment. Tonight's sponsors deserve special notice for making this such a delightful event. A special thanks for our very generous support goes to Mr. and Mrs. Don M. Wilson III, Transwestern, and in honor of Don Wilson, a group from the Global Trading Division of the Old Chemical Bank, including Michael Davey, Bob Flicker, Tom Hoppy, Rob Standing, Bill Staples, currently one of our board members, and Mark Zarb. Because of Goodwill's history of success and all these extraordinary people involved in our work, and with your support, I have no doubt that Goodwill will continue to be successful in delivering its life-changing mission, even in these difficult times. So if you haven't already, just to put in a little plug, there is still time to make a donation directly to Goodwill, the COVID-19 Crisis Fund, which is on the left side of your screen. The entire Goodwill family join me in thanking all of you for this wonderful support you're giving us tonight.
Thank you, Hank, for sharing past Goodwill successes. And now to our future. I'd like to introduce and salute the next generation student designers from the Fashion Institute of Technology and Parsons School of Design and their environmentally friendly work.
Hi, thank you for having me. My name is Christine Jiwon-ra. I'm a 21-year-old South Korean creative studying fashion design and fine art at Parsons School of Design in New York. I was born in Seoul and raised in London, Hong Kong, and Tokyo. As an artist, my work is firmly rooted in my multicultural upbringing and daily observations. I explore the cultural irregularities I find in my immediate or current environment each time I move, and over the years I've become fascinated by the anthropological diversities and the structural depth of the multi-layered systems that make up New York City, which heavily inspires my patchwork. I find it natural to work materials up, usually working with what is available to me within that environment with the aim to minimize waste. My approach to fashion is to design for change, to challenge the infrastructures that are entrenched in waste and inefficiency, and offer a more conscious consumer base a product that is not only sustainably made, but also carries a level of intimacy that over time grows with the owner. I personally feel best about my work when I see my customer connect on an emotional level with an article of clothing and feel as though they can treasure it for life. This patchwork piece up for auction at today's gala was inspired by Boro textile art. It is entirely hand-sewn with white thread. I deconstructed my mother's jeans down, ironed them out, and used every piece throughout these series. It was patchwork with other pieces of swatches that I've collected over the years throughout my time at Parsons. Sustainability is a big topic of conversation in the classrooms at Parsons, where I've come to believe the future of sustainability lies in the hands of both young visionaries as well as established designers with the power to make real change. The mission is unattainable without a collective mindset from the entire industry. Goodwill's mission to promote sustainable fashion is truly commendable, and I'm so glad that they are collaborating on projects such as this competition with fashion schools all across New York. It's through events like this that fashion designers and students become aware of the kind of opportunities that come to those who utilize upcycled garments in their work and recognize the important role that organizations such as Goodwill bring into their own design work. My favorite Goodwill story is that in my second year, there's a mandatory fashion design course requiring us to visit the Chelsea Goodwill store, purchase 3 men's shirts, completely remove any sewn stitches with a seam ripper, and reuse the fabric to make a shirt from scratch, of course. It's still one of my favorite shirts to this day. Before we close, I would like to share my piece once again. I'm so pleased to have this piece titled Metropolis in Stitches as part of this auction. All proceeds will go to the Goodwill COVID Crisis Fund. Please take a minute and please bid to the left of your screen. Thank you very much.
So I was really excited for this project. I went to Goodwill and I walked in the store really hunting for something that was versatile and that I could transform using textile manipulation. So walking through the store and looking through the racks, I found this 2-piece denim scrub set, which is pretty interesting in itself, but I thought this would be the perfect material to create a new pattern and a new texture with. I decided to cut up the top into strips and rearrange them in a pattern that's very stripy. And I left the hem raw in order to create another layer of dimension and color. I decided to choose a midi length silhouette because I wanted to by elegance and beauty and something that's very form-fitting, which is a very stark contrast to what it looked like before. But I really enjoyed this experience of taking something that was pretty plain, you'd probably just walk right by it in the store, and create something that is a statement piece. And this item is available in the auction now to the left of your screen, so go ahead and bid on it.
Wow, one of those student designs, terrific. Students from Parsons and FIT. Congratulations to them. They're the future of our industry. So now with our seasoned, fabulous designers and all my pals, I'm so glad to be talking to all of you. So I've got a couple of questions. First, I want to know, how much fun did you have creating these special pieces from Goodwill stores to the garments that you made for tonight's gala? So Tracy, tell us how much fun you had.
I had so much fun, especially since my assistant Catherine did all of the handwork, but it was so much fun putting it together. It was fun finding the unique pieces and sort of seeing the possibilities in each piece. And then sort of like riffing and freestyling on the mannequin. I hadn't done that for a while, and, you know, pulling out all the trims. And then ultimately seeing the synergy between what we created and our Hope for Flowers collection that was interesting. I wasn't trying to take it in that direction, but it flowed there naturally. So, you know, it was a great experience. And, you know, my assistant, she actually loved doing all the handwork. God bless her, because she did so much more of a beautiful job than I ever could have.
Well, I can't wait to see how much money we raise from people putting their bidding on these clothes. Greg, tell us about your fun in putting your piece together.
Oh, I mean, this was so much fun. I think that you know, it's so important right now, as we all know, and what we're trying to show people is that it's incredibly, it's never been more important for designers and artists to create responsibly and consciously. And while we know that, it doesn't mean that we can't have fun doing that. And so I think that what was so exciting was to actually have something celebratory and to do it, not just because we have to, but because people are going to want to start coming together and rejoicing and celebrating and seeing the light at the end of this tunnel. And so it was so much fun to do something important, have a blast doing it, and to really be able to inspire and innovate in a way that we have to all be thinking about for the future. So very exciting.
Terrific. Can't wait to see how much money your garment's going to raise tonight. And Yeohlee, with your new bob, your new haircut, tell us how much fun you had.
It was a blast. I started my new year on 14th Street and 5th Avenue in Goodwill. You can't beat that. And I really had a great time with the selection on offer. And I ended up, this is scary, I ended up with 24 pieces to work from. And that was just 14th Street. Then after the new year, I went over to 25th Street and I scored another 6 items. So that was really, really great. And I hadn't been to Goodwill in quite a while, and I was extremely impressed with not just the offer, but the staffing and the organization and the congeniality and, you know, terrific atmosphere in the space. So I got off to a good start there. And then the process, well, it is the process, a lot to select from, and I can't wait for you guys to see it. No hints of what you're going to see.
Do any of you remember the very first product you ever bought at a Goodwill store? I mean, one of you have a story about that? Okay, Yeohlee.
May I? Well, you know, I came from Malaysia and I had no clue about winter. And when the storms came, I was really frozen, and Goodwill saved my life. I got my first coat from Goodwill.
Ah, that's great. I love that story. And Greg, was there an aha moment that made you pivot your business to focus on sustainable principles?
Yeah, absolutely. The aha moment for me is I've always been obsessed with and love vintage clothing and secondhand shops. And I spent a lot of my childhood at flea markets and walking the streets of Canal Street and Broadway and hitting every vintage store, that you could. And so I've always, as a designer, worked with deconstructing vintage garments and antique textiles. And the challenge with that is I've also accumulated over years bins and bins of scraps. And I have this infatuation with scraps, and I almost feel like I have a love affair with scraps. I've fallen in love with the beauty and the details of these scraps. And I literally have gone into my team's trash cans and said, whoa, wait a minute. That's gonna make a beautiful collar. That'll be a beautiful pocket flap. Do not throw that away. I need that. And at a certain point, my team said to me, we understand it, Greg, but what do you wanna do? We literally had to get a storage unit just for the scraps. And the amazing thing about that is it allowed us to sort of challenge ourselves to come up with a way to use those scraps. And that was actually, which you saw in the piece tonight, that was what the GL Scraps initiative was born from, which was, how do we use these scraps in a way that is beautiful, efficient, speaks to the aesthetic? And that's really where GL Scraps was born, where we take our own cutting wastage and turn them into 6-inch squares that we stitch together and basically create what we call GL scrap work, which is yardage made from our own cutting waste. And it's really exciting because I think it just proves to me and to my team, and we work so hard to use everything that we can. We literally have a no scrap goes unused policy. And I think there's a way for us to create beautiful things that still are desirable and that pique the imagination and interest from people who love fashion and who love clothing, and that still, provides a solution to this very important problem that we have. So.
Well, I love that philosophy because, I hate throwing anything out. You never know when you could use it. I'm the only one at Christmas time that keeps all the ribbons when everybody's throwing them out. No, give me the ribbon. Give me this. It's like you never know when you're going to reuse things. So I'm glad you made that into a business. Tracy, what was
I just want to add on to Fern's story, because this Christmas I decided that I was not buying any gift wrap and I was going to do all recycled gift wrap. And since we can't bring our own bags into the grocery store anymore because of the pandemic, I used all my old brown Whole Foods and Trader Joe's shopping bags and used those for gift wrap. And I put recycled ribbons on them and recycled Christmas cards or cards that I just had never used that have been in my house unused. And I saved so much money, and I've got enough, I think, for about 5 more Christmases without buying another thing. So it's interesting. My mom always had a saying, I have all I need to do all I need to do. And a lot of us, if we just look around, the resources that we actually need are already in our hands. And that was what was so wonderful about the Goodwill Project, to use, items that already exist and to create something beautiful with them. Upcycling is new for me. I've always designed everything from scratch, but, going forward for Hope for Flowers, that's one of the ways that we want to be able to express ourselves and the mission of the brand. And it's exciting to address design in a different way, from a different angle, and keep learning.
That's great, Tracy. And you're right. I love your mother's slogan. And it's true that we all have so much, and especially Christmas wrap and tissues and papers and cards. It's so seductive to go to a store and see new things, but we all have enough of it home that we haven't used for many years. So that's a very, very good advice. Just keep the wrapping department at home. Okay, let's move on to the Yeohlee. This question's for you. What has been your greatest challenge in specifying fabrics to meet your criteria? Because you're very much about the new technology in textiles.
Oh, with this project, I selected everything based on the look of the look and the feel of the fabric. And, you know, the resource is enormous. So I had a selection that covered basically all the bases from faux fur to sequins. So that was really fun. And in today's world, right now, I'm not buying any fabric. I have quite a vast archive of very stunning fabrics from the last 30 years or so. So I made some pieces recently from something I upcycled from 2001. So it's been a very interesting journey. You know, you revisit fabrics and mills that haven't been around for 20 years, and they have looms that got trashed. Like Tironi exists today, but in its heyday, they made the most luxurious silks that you can imagine. So it's very interesting what's happening now. And since we're in the COVID era, I've just decided that instead of going out and shopping for new, I would just use everything that I have.
Another smart decision. We got such smart designers here. I love it. Okay, and since you mentioned COVID-19, this has been a very humbling year for everybody. And we've all had to take stock of the good fortunes and to identify things that we're grateful for, the small joys in our lives. What are some of the small joys you might be grateful for? And how have you managed during this insane pandemic? Greg, let's start with you.
It has been a really challenging, difficult time. And I think probably, and this is almost a cliche to say it, but I think it's, for me, certainly, it's reconnecting me with the idea of time. I mean, time has never felt more like a precious commodity. And even though it feels like we now have an abundance of it on our hands, it's only made me appreciate the small things even more. And as an artist, as a designer, I remember early on, I returned to the simple joy of drawing, and then that completely became part of my work. I remember, like a kid, drawing and painting directly onto a few garments that I'd had at home became the most exciting thing, as if I had never done it before. And it was like I was rediscovering the craft of that and the childlike fun in that. And I think that, honestly, because we've had to, reconnecting with family, sitting and drawing with my 8-year-old son. I'm probably a little too excited about all the video games I've been playing, because I'm suddenly an expert at things like Roblox and Nintendo Switch, and suddenly I feel like I am a Minecraft guru. So all of you parents out there, I'm sure know exactly what I'm talking about, but it's dangerous, but it's been a lot of fun and a bonding experience. But honestly, being together and the simple reaching out and saying hello to someone for no reason at all and celebrating just connection has been probably the most important thing. And just sort of really contemplating where we go from here and how do we return to enjoying our lives and being together, but with a newfound sense of consciousness. So
that's great. Tracy?
I echo what Greg said. I mean, it's like, you know, we're so much more thankful for simple things now. And I think that, you know, the pandemic slowed the pace of life quite a bit, and it's been forcing us to become more introspective and take time to think about things. And, you know, do we need so much, or do we need things so quickly? And, you know, is there time to meditate and take stock of our lives and our direction. I was already on this path prior to the pandemic of just slowing it down and really reconnecting with the parts of my work that I love the most and making sure that I'm spending my time doing those things. I love to design. I love to draw. I love to paint. I love to create things. And, I love that so much more than being pushed by a crazy calendar and just creating product after product after product. When it becomes product instead of creation, then we've lost the thread. But, being so grateful to have security, to have health, to have family, to have these video moments where we can see each other, even if we can't be together in person and give each other a hug, it's been a lifesaver. Because for those of us who live alone and who are super cautious, it's been really important to be able to connect on these types of calls and actually see people and laugh together.
Well said, Tracy. And Yeohlee, darling, what are some of the small things you might be grateful for in managing through this year?
I think I was focused on, this is going to sound really crazy, but anyway, conservation was very important. I think that in times like this, you really learn how to conserve on every level, including your time and your energy, because you could spend a lot of time spinning out of control. And beyond that, I think a lot about what is to come. And it's more than COVID that we have to think about today. So it's a mystery that lacks clarity for me right now. And for my own sanity, of course, I dive into my work, and this project has been the most inspiring and really delightful.
Well, that's great. We're glad that Goodwill has provided a project to inspire you all this year.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
I have to say that, for a year that provided so much time and seemed to have more time than anything, somehow it went by so fast.
Yes.
I mean, I cannot believe how quickly this year went when it felt like we weren't doing anything. It's just mind-boggling. And, and to your point, Tracy, also, I have to say, I hate the technology, but I love the technology. And, we're all sick of Zooms, but God bless this technology that we're all able to talk to one another and see each other and have family gatherings for Thanksgiving or Christmas with loved ones all over the place, and birthday parties with 50 people on them. Who would have ever thought years ago that we'd be communicating like this? So it's great, and these opportunities that bring us all together. I'm grateful to Goodwill for bringing me in touch with all of you who I love so much, and we don't see anymore. We don't not at industry parties and events and fashion shows, but it's good to still see each other and communicate and talk. So also I want to ask you all, what is the best way for everybody who's listening and watching to, beyond buying the fabulous things that you've all made for Goodwill and for this gala, to buy your collections and clothes? I mean, are you all direct to consumer? Because that certainly is the name of the game these days. So let's share with people how they can follow and see your work and buy it. Because everybody still, as much as we're staying home and not spending money, fashion is about needing something new that makes you happy and makes you feel good. So when that urge comes, after they go shopping at Goodwill and they want to buy something of yours, how do they do that? So Greg, start with you.
Well, I think that there will be a moment where we will return to the excitement and the experience of a brick and mortar experience. And I think that that's still and always will be an important part of messaging and telling our unique individual stories. And that's what makes what we do so exciting. I think because of one of the great things to come out of the pandemic has been so many creative and innovative ways that people use social media and use technology, and it's been amazing for us. So we've actually become much more of a direct-to-consumer company because of it, and you can find everything that we're doing and read about it and see behind-the-scenes footage at greglauren.com, and of course follow us on Instagram at Greg Lauren. And I think more than ever, it's important for all of us to share our values and the why we do what we do, not just the product itself, and those platforms allow us to do that. So.
Okay. And Yeohlee, where do they follow you and find you?
Yeohlee.com, Instagram, Yeohlee NY, Pinterest, Facebook. We sell from all the social media platforms. However, they also have the option of coming in here where I'm sitting at 12 West 29th Street in the heart of Nomad. The store is open from 10 to 6, and we do appointments, by appointment only. And we've had individual people come in, and we managed to also do a by appointment gala for the John Boca Dance Foundation, and that went off quite well. So I'm conservatively optimistic that there is life beyond this moment and that it will be fun and exciting.
Conservatively optimistic. I like that. And Tracy, how do we buy Tracy Reese?
Well, you actually now buy Hope for Flowers or Hope for Flowers by Tracy Reese. So our website, our direct-to-consumer is hopeforflowers.com. And our Instagram is Hope for Flowers by Tracy Reese. And we're also on Facebook as Hope for Flowers. I don't know if it's Hope for Flowers or Hope for Flowers by Tracy Reese on Facebook, but you can find us on all of those platforms. And we love engaging with our friends and fans. And like Greg said, having the opportunity to explain the ethos behind what we do and share, part of our journey with the public. So it's the way that we can all connect now. And like you said, Fern, it's a love-hate thing with technology, but thank goodness we have it. And we're able to connect and have community.
Well, that's great. Well, thank you all so much. And I think we want to send everybody to Goodwill stores, to all of them. Everybody listening, go to Goodwill. It's the place to shop, but also get your paddles out and buy the fabulous things tonight for the Goodwill COVID Fund. And if you fall in love with these designers, like I have, and I know you will, you just heard where to go and buy their things. So with that, I wish you all a terrific new year, a better new year than the one we've had, and the one that started off a little rocky. But let's all hope for the best. And as I say to everybody, let's think positive and test negative. So.
I love that. Thank you, Fern, Greg, Tracy. Love to everybody.
Love to you all. Thank you.
Hi, Fern. We're finally together. Weren't Tracy's and Greg's and Yeohlee's sustainable designs fabulous? It's so admirable how they've pivoted so empathetically to save the environment. I wanted to also give a big thanks to our young designers from FIT and Parsons for joining us this evening. Our future is in their hands, and what safe hands they are.
I couldn't agree with you more, Amber. And I am always so encouraged by new talent and young talent and their boldness and brightness of these young students. Our future and our planet is in their hands. And thankfully, they are a generation that is totally committed to living on a greener planet. And I'm also blown away by our three featured designers who have proven their commitment to saving and improving our environment. And they are using their creativity to make a difference.
What an amazing evening it's been, hasn't it, Fern? I mean, you're the godmother of fashion. So what are your thoughts on sustainable fashion in the future?
Well, I mean, that title for me is somebody else coined it for me. It's not what I normally call myself, but thank you, honey. I think it's important for us all to ask the right questions
Mm-hmm.
and to understand that sustainable fashion is not about wearing clothing that's made out of hemp, which is what we all thought it was at the beginning when we became aware of these words and these issues. But shopping at Goodwill and shopping in your closet is a way to make a difference. How you wash your clothes and how often you do it, recycling and reusing, eating differently to save the earth, and what we all drive, and using new light bulbs, and learning about the chemicals on your lawns. We have to buy smarter and we have to learn about how you can make a difference. There's so many ways that we can all make changes. And I encourage people to read a book that I loved, Fashionopolis by Dana Thomas. It was an eye-opener to me about the industry and all of the issues that surround this very important time in our lives about being sustainable. And Amber, you too, though, you really have been a pioneer in sustainable fashion. What is a takeaway that you can share for the viewers around fashion and sustainability?
Well, Fern, you offered so much wise advice with your answer. So I'm just going to piggyback on what you've said. You know, I think it's so important to remember to appreciate what we have, and that what we have is not, it's not disposable. It can be reused, repurposed, refashioned, and we can also share it with a friend or a family member or someone we don't know by donating it to places like the Goodwill. Most importantly, clothes do not go in the trash. We have to do whatever we can to keep them out of landfill. And then secondly, I think it's about the value of what we place on our things, and remembering how important it is that somebody's handiwork, or even just that what makes our clothes came from natural resources, and how we have to treasure those things. And so it's just understanding and appreciating the value of our clothes. And again, supporting places like the Goodwill are vitally important to keep the cycle of clothing going and sustainable. And then lastly, I think it's important that we invest in innovations. And so that means fabrics that can be broken down easily and made into new fabrics, or that are biodegradable. Again, keeping everything out of the landfill. And then we'll have a more sustainable planet and fashion, and look great doing it. And on that note, now that our evening is winding down, I would like to make one last request for your support of the Goodwill COVID Crisis to fund Goodwill's work around sustainable fashion and putting people to work. It's been a delight sharing this evening with you and Fern and everyone in our audience. Always remember Goodwill in your hearts. And thank you for coming, everyone. Have a great year, be safe, and now back to you, Fern.
Thank you, Amber. It's been great being with you as well. I hope you all have enjoyed hearing from our three terrific designers and our talented students and seeing their work this evening, and also learning more about how Goodwill is not only putting people in need back to work, but is helping to protect our environment. So when you have the urge and the need to shop Goodwill. You'll be surprised. Their 23 stores are open and waiting for you and are filled with unpredictable, amazing finds. And I cannot end the evening without asking you to bid on the inspirational finds in the auction this evening. The auction will be open until 5 p.m. tomorrow. It would mean the world to us. Bid now, bid high, and good night. And let's all hope for a better year. We all deserve it. And now back to Katie to close out the evening.
Hi, Hank. It's been so much fun tonight.
Indeed. Katie
Cheers.
and I will end the program with brief comments and a couple of acknowledgments. But as someone from the world or the sphere of finance and investments, this program is another world. Another world for me, Katie, for certainly well worth an enthusiastic toast from us. Cheers, prosit, santé, salute, and skål.
Absolutely. Thank you all for joining us. I really want to say thank you to all of you who came and stayed with us and learned so much about fashion and about Goodwill. I was really moved by the stories I've actually watched them before. I've met almost everyone, but I was also inspired by our staff. And that reminds me of Don too. Don Wilson, who we honored tonight, always asked me about the team. He always made sure that we were looking out for the team and that everyone had what they needed. And I think you really see that tonight. So thank you, Don, for inspiring me. And thank you so much for your leadership tonight.
Indeed. Don Wilson and I served together on the board for his entire 20-year service. And I always benefited from his inputs, particularly his infamous one-liners, the one-line email comments and questions, which were always focused and insightful. Thank you, Don. We were delighted that we could thank you for being part of us for 20 years.
Absolutely. And thank you to Amber and Fern. What an amazing hostesses we had this evening. They had a lot of sparkle and a lot of star power. It was so amazing to have them host us and to be really beacons for our first event about sustainable fashion. And I just can't thank our designers and the students enough. It was really exciting to see from them. I got so many text messages tonight, people wanting to buy. Great auction. There's still time. The auctions actually will be open through Sunday. So please get those bids in. Those items are going to be hot. They're all over social media.
And for me, from the other world that doesn't fully appreciate sustainable practices, I was impressed by the imagination and creativity of our young fashion designers. I love the description that Goodwill is the king and queen of sustainability. We've got to work on that, Katie, and use it more. Thank you, Yeohlee, for that idea.
Absolutely. Well, there is still a little bit of time. I wouldn't be doing my job without asking you at the last bit to think about going over to the left side and donating. We've raised some money tonight and the auctions are hot, but please think about digging in and giving a little more to our COVID Crisis Fund. We'd love celebrating with you, and we'd love to continue our impact and share our amazing stories with you next year.
Absolutely. And we also must salute our singer for the evening, Victoria Canal. After listening to a voice like that, I'm sure we will have no trouble finding our way to the life of our dreams. Thank you, Victoria.
Hank, you always ask me what I'm wearing. We lost for a second.
You flipped my computer over with that. You look terrific, Katie. Where did you get that?
Well, thanks for asking. I really do wear Goodwill every day. And Terrell, who you met tonight, helped me pick this fantastic vintage piece out. So, sustainable fashion is something that I believe in. And since I come to Goodwill, I've completely converted my entire wardrobe, professional and personal wardrobe to sustainable fashion. And it's just been an amazing adventure for me. It is really, truly fun to thrift.
I have to say, whenever I see you, I am always impressed by your ability to look terrific and source at our stores. So it's doable, it's very doable, and it's sustainable, obviously.
And it's great to just, I love showing everyone how great Goodwill is and really honoring our team. Thank you, team. I love how you got those shout outs tonight from the stores to Liz and Ganesh and everyone who works on our teams, to Jenny and, just everyone. I'm sorry to leave anyone out, but it was just great. Our teams work so hard at all levels of Goodwill. So thank you.
And a special thank you also for Sophia Amaro, our development lady who worked like hell on this. We thank you, and we really are delighted with the results. Thank you, Sophia. But we also want to thank everyone for coming. Stay healthy, and always remember, we are waiting for you at Goodwill. See you very soon. Ciao.
I am magical, spiritual, only show up as my higher self. I am more than just beautiful, and I don't need nobody else. In the world you live in, maybe I don't fit in. I am magical, spiritual, only show up as my higher self. You go your way, I'll go mine. I could do without the drama. Oh, I'm a sucker for good karma, karma. Oh, gonna walk away up with the shade, let it fade. Ain't gonna haze me, you know I could do without the drama, drama. Oh, you are clinical, cynical, don't need room for nobody else. And I find it so comical how you turn heaven into hell. And the lengths you go to make me shorter. You are clinical, cynical, don't need room for nobody else. Waste your warfare, I don't mind. I could do without the drama. Oh, I'm a sucker for good karma, karma. Oh, gonna walk away and put the shade, let it fade. Ain't gonna haze me, no, I could do without the drama, drama. Oh, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Gonna walk away and put the shade, let it fade. Ain't gonna haze me, no, I could do without the drama, drama. Oh, you are clinical, cynical, don't leave room for nobody else. I am magical, spiritual, only show up as my higher self.